There are a number of quality improvement experiments taking place in the marketplace. I call them experiments because we have virtually no data to suggest that any of these various models can produce positive results in a replicable and sustainable manner. It's one thing to be able to produce short-lived reductions in cost or relative savings. It's another thing to fundamentally change the growth curve. And we simply have not proven that we can do that in oncology through any of these pilot projects. However, there is some good about these pilot projects. First, they are engaging oncologists in a discussion about real issues they should be talking about, so that definitions are being created, so that parameters are being outlined that will determine the ultimate debate, which will be settled at the societal level in relation to willingness to pay. The other positive thing coming out of these pilots is data. We're able to see some blind spots for the first time and actually have real data upon which we can design better programs. One problem with many of the current efforts at quality improvement happening today is that they are reducing reimbursement for drugs myopically without offsetting those operational revenues through other types of services. We simply can't reach for higher levels of value and destroy the value that we currently have in community oncology. Any program that we engage in needs to very carefully consider the fundamental operating expenses of delivering care in the outpatient community setting, and they need to consider sophisticated models for the incentive a community oncologist has to go at risk in buying inventory, maintaining safety and compliance standards, maintaining facilities to operate an outpatient clinic, and to go at risk on behalf of the patients, the payers, and the pharmaceutical industry. If we push that threshold too far, then we make it that the community oncologist is not motivated to continue to keep his practice independent and to maintain that high level of access that we've all grown accustomed to. We're dedicated to engaging in quality improvement programs that take seriously the fundamental cost of delivering care in the community and that take seriously the incentive that physicians need in order to go at risk on behalf of the entire cancer industry and patients. We're dedicated to doing that on the basis of data, so that our suggestions about cost savings, about improvement of outcomes are based upon real baseline data and on tangible analysis that allow us to be able to say what actually happened. We're also dedicated to doing these programs through partnership. The only way we're going to get anywhere is if we engage physicians in programs that allow them to help us make changes that are feasible for them and that balance their values as well as the values of payers and the pharmaceutical industry. So we're dedicated to doing this through a physician and patient-centric partnership with all interested organizations. What we need to tell the value story of community oncology and to engage in programs that push that value quotient to even higher levels is painfully within our reach. We have the ability to make clinical decision-making systematic. We have the ability to demonstrate that doctors are following national guidelines and making reasonable decisions about the care of very complicated disease presentations. And we have the ability to lay down unprecedented financial and clinical outcomes data to be able to gauge new therapies and new types of care as they come into the marketplace. Most of the things that inhibit quality improvement in oncology are practical in nature. For example, when you create a matrix that considers disease characteristics with the multiple single drugs and combinations of drugs for those specific disease characteristics, you end up with a very complicated matrix of treatment options. Judging compliance within that matrix then becomes equally difficult. And the data streams that exist naturally in clinical practice don't have the precise variables needed to make those fine discriminations of compliance. So when you start a quality improvement project, one of the barriers is making sure you have enough data to know if the program is being enacted properly or not, much less know if it had an impact on the ultimate level of cost. Another challenge with these type of quality improvement programs in cancer care is the complicated nature of estimating the financial impact. Oncology, at least for the last several years, has had a natural growth in expenditure because of the new products entering the market each year. So when you enact a program that might curve costs while enhancing some aspect of quality, you have to take into account that the overall market is increasing. When you want to look at things like hospitalizations and emergency room visits or avoiding some other type of intensive intervention, you have to look downstream to events that are difficult to link to your intervention. The cost analysis of these programs is not straightforward. Many times you can have a significant effect, but as with a clinical trial, be unable to detect it because you measured the wrong measure or because you didn't have a large enough sample size or your intervention, while effective and on the right track, was not quite potent enough. I've been doing research on quality improvement for the past 20 years, and I certainly have never experienced a time when the folks involved in delivering cancer care were more aligned. We know that the best cancer care is found in the community, where the average person with average income and average education can conveniently travel and receive the same type of care that could be had thousands of miles away at a renowned academic center. Furthermore, for the first time, we see alignment between community providers and payers. Payers recognize that when care moves from the community to a hospital affiliation, they pay 2 to 3 times more. So for the first time, we have some common interests amongst the players. And the hope is that we can very quickly have programs in place, clinical steering committees and data and outcomes processes that will allow these interested parties to look at these issues in a sober way, but in a realistic way, and make some concessions that allow us to move the field forward.